Hey, welcome back to our podcast, your go-to source for all things real estate and lifestyle in the heart of Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Jackson Christian Berry.
And I'm Jean Kristen Berry.
And together, we're here to guide you through the vibrant world of Fort Worth and surrounding suburb living.
We believe in creating a community where everyone feels at home. And that's why we're committed to bringing you honest, expert advice in a fun and friendly way. From the bustling streets of downtown to the serene suburbs, we've got the scoop on what makes each area unique.
Each week, we'll dive into the latest market trends, offer tips for both buyers and sellers, and share insider knowledge to help you make informed decisions. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned investor, or just curious about some of the Fort Worth charming neighborhoods, you're in the right place. Let's jump into today's episode. Well, hey, y'all, and welcome back to Welcome Home Fort Worth. We are so excited that you've joined us.
We are.
We are pumped, y'all. I don't know about you. This month is feeling so good. January felt good. I don't know, last January, like 2023 January, felt so slow.
Yeah.
It was so sluggish. It was so hard to get folks to
People were nervous.
ready for it. And the interest rate kind of shock was still, happening. Oh my gosh, y'all, this month feels great. And so this is our market update episode. And so we've got some really exciting data to show you. It indicates, yes, December was slow, which is what we felt totally. Still a little bit better than, honestly, last year, which is cool. But man, January is ramping up and February is going to be exciting to see what comes in that month. So this is our market update for the month of January. So let's just jump right in real quick, y'all. Quick stats for you. I always like to do this in kind of a format of supply. First, we'll identify supply and supply trackers, and then we'll jump into demand trackers. So kind of supply is what it's usually seller related, and the kind of market that a seller today would enter into if they were going to sell. And then demand is going to be more buyer, interest rates, competition, stuff like that. So always want to make the note as well when we start this every single time. Two things. One, this is mainly speaking towards Tarrant County and Johnson County. Keep that in mind. If you are outside those counties, I'd be glad to run these comps for you. It's very easy to do. Be glad to get you these stats. Just let us know. DM us on any social media platform where we are. Yeah. We'll be glad to get you that information. So that's number one. Two, keep in mind, real estate is so local right now.
That's right.
So
hyper
local, y'all. Like this is broad view, and this is a broader view than you're going to get on, even like if you're Tarrant County, if you're Johnson County, it's broader view than you're even going to get on local news platforms because it really is just these counties.
Okay.
Definitely more than national news for sure. Like this is what's happening in our local market, but your local market could be the higher end of this average, or it could be the lower end of this average. And so you just got to keep in mind that this is a good idea of what's going on, but to know truly if you're somebody considering making a move in real estate this year, know that it really does require a specific analysis of your area that you're wanting to buy or sell it. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, because we need to know things like, things that make a difference will be new construction property going in around you, new businesses, freeway construction, all kinds of things like that that are nuanced that we got to take into consideration.
Yeah, for sure. So all disclaimers aside, let's jump in.
That's right.
We got to make sure we got to say those things. So, all right. So jumping into supply, identifying, we had basically in the month of December, we closed out with 1,599 new listings came on the market in the month of December. We are filming this on the second to last day of January, excuse me. And so right now we are currently at 2,087 new listings this month on the market. We got 2 days to go. So there may be a couple more that come on during that time, but most likely not very many. So know that this is a pretty good estimate. Moving on, we have, in the month of December, we had 5,181 active listings. So these are properties that are just on the market, that have been on the market. This is kind of supply. This is the amount of homes on the market. So 5,181 in December, up to 5,232 in January. So when you see active listings rise, that usually indicates and in this situation, we're talking about 50, 60 more homes on the market. So nothing dramatic by any means, but it does indicate a slight softening because homes are staying on the market a little longer. Right. So keep that in mind.
And January does tend to be one of our lower months.
For sure. Well, and just keep in mind too, a lot of these things really indicate, especially when we get to closings, when we're thinking about January, we're really watching what happened in December, right? If you see things under contract, that's what went under contract in December that was under contract in the month of January. So we'll talk about that in just a second. Number of homes sold. Okay, this is really exciting, and just because it's very dramatic difference. Okay, December closed out with 1,682 homes sold. Okay, in January, y'all, again, 2 days less, so maybe we add 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe more, right? But not much more than that. January closed out at 1,010, so that is a drop of 600 and 70 basically. So that's a big drop. And again, with this being closings, this is stuff that went under contract in December. Does that make sense? And so what that means for us is that December was slow.
Yes.
December was slow. That's what it means.
Which is what we felt.
We totally felt that. And it's very seasonal, right? This isn't, obviously we have interest rates, stuff going on here. But man, it's nothing crazy. It's really just seasonal. So, but there was a dramatic drop. So we want to make sure we highlight that. All right, and then the average close price, really about the same, y'all. Not a big shift here. December's average close price was $432,658 for December, down to $420,389. So just about a drop of $12,000 for our average close price. So good stuff there. Something I want to make sure we talk about on these episodes is kind of, you've maybe heard the idea of a buyer's market or a seller's market. And in real estate, we identify this by finding what's called the absorption rate. And this is how fast homes are coming on the market and then going off the market, right? And how much inventory is being absorbed by buyers. And so to do that, all we have to do, it's a very simple calculation just for you to do at home if you want some math and some homework. You just take the average number of sales for the given time frame that you would like, divided by the amount of active listings on during that time. And so if we do that for the month of December, we were at 0.325, okay? So 0.325, anything above 20% is usually considered a seller's market. It's usually considered that. Anything 15% or below is usually considered a buyer's market, meaning that homes are really staying off. There's not much absorption happening. The higher the absorption, the more homes are coming off the market.
Which means a bigger days on market.
Yes.
During that period of time, yeah.
So, and then January, we are at 0.193. And so you're basically between 15 and 20%. So it's still kind of an average market. It's still a very, very, very kind of equalized market, kind of in the middle, still leaning towards sellers for sure, just slightly, but just something to keep in mind. And again, that 0.325 from December to 0.193 indicates what we saw earlier in the drop in the drop in number of sales. It just slowed down. Right?
And I guess what's important here is to remember that overall, for what's predicted, our inventory still is low in this area.
In the nation.
In the nation.
Yeah.
It's still low, but the reason you're not seeing things just flying off the market right now when you're seeing more of a balance is because buyer demand is also down, right?
Sure, exactly.
So as soon as buyer demand picks up, there's still going to be low inventory. So that we'll talk more about that later.
I mean, that's literally great. I mean,
is that a good segue?
What a segue. Because that's what we're heading to next. So that's kind of our summary of what's happening with inventory. That's our analysis. Those are the leading indicators, if you will, that we were tracking to see what happened in the month of January, what occurred, and how it compared to December, just so we could know kind of the movement of time there. If we're doing the same thing with buyers, so first thing I want to address, and buyers, the first thing that they kind of care about is affordability. Does it make sense to buy a home in this market? So if we look at the average monthly payment of a mortgage, so we take our average price point using today's interest rate, we get the average monthly payment, which is about $2,763 for a home loan today, with our average price point, again, at today's interest rate. The average rent, though, today is $2,548, so about a $200 difference there. And so it's still a little cheaper to rent right now. That doesn't factor in things like, I always want to make the note, doesn't factor in things like appreciation. When you own a home, you are not only paying off this loan, but you are making money on the appreciation. But it also doesn't take into account things like home repairs that come along the way. And so that renters don't have to deal with as much.
It's like you're missing out on the asset investment appreciation, but at the same time, your cash is maybe a little more protected with rent.
Yeah, and if you look at statistics of like how people use the money, so like you may save $200, right, if you rent, but what are you going to actually do with that $200? You're going to go spend it. Like when you're spending that extra $200 on a home, you're putting that into essentially a really insured, insulated savings account. I mean, if you want to think of it that way. And so that money is going to work for you. It's going to grow for you versus maybe you going to spend it on food or lifestyle kind of things that I would do if I had an extra $200 in my pocket, right? Like, so that's just kind of the way it goes, right? That's what we all do. Yeah. Cause it's more fun to use it, right? It's more fun to have it and do something with it. It's harder to wait for that long game payoff. So that's what's going on with again, if we compare to the average, monthly payment at our average price point, today's interest rate, compared to the rentals. Now, if we look at kind of more of the demand for mortgages, they call that purchase application data. As we track that, I can tell you that it's way up. So I can't give you the necessarily the like last month's number for this, but but it is trending upwards. It has been trending upwards since the middle of December. Purchase application data is up. Mm-hmm. I think that what I would say, my guess for that is because interest rates did have a nice little dip through December, middle of December through kind of early January. We had a nice little dip in interest rates, and that was really exciting.
Yeah. And we've seen properties stay on the market a little bit longer, mm-hmm. and you've seen days on market increase. And there's been seller concessions. Yeah. So I think that's encouraged buyers too, to go in and go ahead and start an application and get going.
Yeah. And get moving because there's a reason to get moving.
Yeah.
And I think the news is talking about this enough where I think it's also generating buzz. There's a lot of projections for potential interest rate cuts. I want to make sure clear. Do not plan on interest rate cuts. If a home, if the only reason it makes sense for you to purchase or sell your home is if interest rates come down, I don't think that's the best reason for you to plan on your move. It needs to make sense for other reasons, just that, because there is no guarantee the Fed's meeting as we're speaking right now to discuss interest rates and what they want to do there. That is such an uncontrollable factor that none of us have control over. They may decide today, even if it doesn't make sense or if it does make sense, to keep interest rates where they are. They could decide today that this is not what's projected. They could decide today to raise them if they wanted to. You don't have control over that scenario. So if it's that small a margin for you to go purchase that home, we probably want to be careful there and spend some more time waiting and getting, whatever you need to get that up.
Yeah. And the cool thing about right now in the market is that there are opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Because spring season hasn't hit. Yeah. And you've got opportunity for seller concessions and sellers that just have situations that they're ready to go.
Yeah. Concessions for sure. I mean, you've got long days on market. You have less inventory. And so there's less competition for sellers, which is a good thing for sellers, but it also helps with buyers because sellers they're lasting a little longer.
We had 3 properties over this weekend that 2 of them got offers on it, and they'd been sitting for a while.
Yeah, sure.
And 2 got offers, and then 1 we have a potential offer coming in the door all of a sudden.
Yep.
So it's almost like if you're trying to time the market, mm-hmm. you're probably going to lose because it's impossible to time the market, because by the time you notice that the market's starting to change, it's too late.
Well, and you have to be such a forward thinker too, right? So you have to be the person that says, you know what, I'm going to be the weirdo that goes and buys when nobody's buying, because when nobody's buying, that's usually the best time to buy. Like that again, depending on financial situations, that is when you're going to get greater deals. There's going to be a lot of better options for concessions because not as many buyers are in the market. They're not fighting for it. And so there's more power to the buyers. Tends to be the case. So anyways, interest rates they did do a nice little decrease. In December, we went from like 7, or we were 6.9, 7.1, something like that. Went all the way down to like 6.3 is the lowest I saw. Mm-hmm. And then now we're back up to kind of 6.8, 6.69, depending on the day you look at it. So,
and it's encouraging because back in November, we were at 7.6. So, we're down a full point or more.
It is nice to see a 6 handle on that interest rate. And it's nice to hear whispers of interest rate, cuts if they come. It'd be great. It would help a ton with our affordability issue that we just continue.
But if anything, it's going to stay fairly calm where it is.
Sure.
So you can kind of bank on that. And if you get better than that, great. That's gravy. And if you get not quite as good as that, you can still afford it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. The other thing we track when we talk buyers is and demand, we also track the access to money because people need money to buy homes. And so we track unemployment rate because I think that's a really good indicator. We are about 3 months behind on the posting of unemployment rate and data for the Fort Worth and Tarrant County area. And so October was 3.6. November went down to 3.3 unemployment increase in those 2 months. That's exciting news. More people have access to funds, hopefully. Hopefully decent funds. Hopefully they make good moves for their families to be able to support them and have access to funds.
Hey everyone, real quick before we get back to the show, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, we'd love to connect with you. We post a lot of content like this in case you miss an episode, along with more Fort Worth and surrounding suburb local insights and finds. You can find our team at the Christenberry Group on all social platforms, or you can connect with Jackson and I personally on our Facebook and our Instagram accounts. Just be prepared for lots of pictures of my grandson on either account. Now back to the show.
If you were the kind of buyer that was entering into the market today or this month or next month, some of the things that I would talk to you about would be average days on market. Right. Now, again, keep in mind, and I talked about this as a seller too, because it's important to know, but keep in mind, this data is hyper, it's for Taylor & Johnson, the whole thing. We would want to look at your specific area that you were either shopping in or selling in, average days on market, so we can get an idea of what that area does and the kind of what's normal for that area. But for the average, just so you know, December's average was 59 days on market. That did go up in January to 62. Again, we're talking 3, so it's nothing. None of this is dramatic. None of this is like shocking, but it is just an indicator of there was just a slight little longer on the market, just a slight little, okay, buyers are just maybe not as in the game as they have been, or, sellers may have done some price changes depending. So, and then also I talked to you about close price to original list price. And so that would be basically if homes in the area you're looking to purchase in, are they selling at list price? If every single home in that area is selling at 96.7%, which is the average for January, well, we want to look at that, and we want to say we probably don't want to consider going truly full price unless you're multiple offers, unless you need to be competitive. That's a whole different conversation, y'all. That voids everything here.
But this does help you have a sense of if there's opportunity for you to come in a little lower.
Totally.
And to come in.
And that's what we're looking for. And so 60, if something is on the average days on market, which is 62 days on market, right, in Tarrant and Johnson County, you're probably thinking it's going to go for 96.7%.
You might get a 3 or 4% price change.
Something that's going at 30 days on market probably isn't going to be 96.7%. It'll be closer to that 100%, if not more, right, depending on the way it goes. So yeah, that's just a lot of data. It's a lot of ways that it's the numbers version of what is happening activity-wise in this market. It's the numbers version of what's actually happening, and it's data. That's the thing. It's data. It's not drama. It is not what you feel. It's not what you're hearing on news outlets to stir you up. It's what's actually happening in our market. And so the exciting piece of that is that it's just true. Like I don't skew these. I don't add numbers to these. I don't do any that kind of, I don't fluff them, right? It's what's happening. So it's so refreshing to be able to say, here's what's actually happening in our area. And so before we look ahead kind of in what's coming, what would be your biggest points of, advice to pull out from what we talked about so far for a seller, but also for a buyer, a homeowner, and then a future home?
Yeah. For seller, definitely, I would say, we meet all the time right now with sellers that are worried. I had a consultation last night with a seller that wasn't sure that this was the year to try to sell. They really want to sell this year, but they weren't sure it was the year.
Yeah.
And so we looked at the numbers, and with their neighborhood and their area, it's going to be a good year for them to try to sell and move. So we looked at that, tried to pinpoint the time of year, and it just gave them a lot of hope. Yeah. They had an amount they were hoping to realize from their investment in that house. And the fact that we could get that number was real positive for them, because it felt like to them properties were sitting on the market longer because they saw signs in their neighborhood. So the feeling again was, oh gosh, nothing's selling. But then we dove into that. Some of those properties were not like theirs, or they had some amenities that were really unusual that was going to cause them to be more like the ones that went fast.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times too, not all agents will put sign writers on the signs that say under contract, pending, things like that. And so sometimes it looks like a home is just sitting, but actually it's in the process of going under contract.
Yeah. And there were several of those that were pending. Yep. So, but the feel made them worried. And so that's why, like we were talking about, the numbers really help you see the real picture. So For sellers, what I would say is just make sure you get the numbers and make sure you see what's going on in your neighborhood to determine if this is the year for you to make a move. And then, of course, for buyers, just know that this is encouraging. Wow. What a better market this is than last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially right now. And really, I mean, with the election coming up this year, that's kind of a wild card that's going to be unique to this year. Hopefully nothing else, like Silicon Valley Bank failure last year, that threw a whole wrench in our system. But, this year it'll be interesting to watch to see how that affects it. But before then, I mean, I hope that we look back on January to March and we see it as like that was the golden time to buy.
Yeah.
I mean, I just really think because the more, if interest rates do come down, y'all, that only sends, it may provide some sellers the reason to actually get back on the market because then they can go purchase the home that they want to purchase, right? But that little burst of inventory is going to be short-lived by the amount of buyers that swarm the market and fill it and just like it's just going to be it hopefully is nowhere near the feeding frenzy of 20 and 21. But man, it's going to be closer to that. It's just it. We have not fixed inventory. Interest rates is a big problem because just affordability is the issue. And so interest rates add to that for sure. So the affordability of homes, like homes are just we've had crazy appreciation, right? That has come over the last 2 years. So that's an issue. That's for sure an issue, but we've not solved the deeper issue, which is we just don't have inventory. We just don't have inventory. And even if we unlock the inventory that is locked up by having the 3 and 4% interest rate, y'all, that's going to get gobbled up so fast because we haven't fixed the problem.
So my suggestion would be to these buyers is go get your mortgage app done.
Great, let's go.
Go ahead and get through underwriting and get approved. Just be ready, ready to grab it. And if you've got a house you need to sell first, get it ready to sell and get packed.
Let's get pictures.
Get pictures. Let's get it ready. Yeah.
The second you put your offer in on that new home and second I get accepted, we give that offer saying, hey, this is the link to all of our pictures. The second you accept our offer, we are on the market, right? So that it is probably a contingent sale usually in those scenarios, but that there's just the seller has such, or the buyer, well, the seller, the person is accepting your offer in that scenario has very little reason to say no because you have done all your due diligence to be ready to go.
Well, and we also have, right, some other ways to finance your move so that you're not a contingent buyer. Sure. So we've got access to that information too. So those are things that we can help with.
Yeah, we did a lot of those kind of deals in 21 because that's just what you had to do,
right?
To remove somebody's fear of not being able to, it was easy to sell your home, but could you go buy a home? That was the question. So to remove people's fears doing that, we did a lot of those deals.
Yeah. So there's a lot of options. So if you're ready to move, ready to go, let's get with the program.
Yeah. Buyers, I would say this is really exciting because it's really good news for you. It's just, you don't want to wait too long. Yeah. That's just my only caveat there is we want to be careful. We want to get moving. If you're planning to move this year, if you're somebody who says, I want to move in August this year, I would just encourage you to consider March, just because I think you may have less competition. And all of this, again, depends on the area. All of this continues to be very area centric. I just think that you'll be very pleased with getting to sit back and eat popcorn while you watch the frenzy happen around you that you didn't have to be part of because you moved just a little sooner than you were. You still need to be able to move. You still need to have finances in order, like all of that. We still need to make sure that's covered. I don't want to encourage somebody to go house poor, right? Like I don't want that. That's never advice that we give. It's just if you were somebody who says, I'm ready to move in May this year, let's consider a little earlier. Just because it'll save you some money, I think.
Yeah, at least get together for the information. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's exciting.
Yeah. So this is why we love real estate.
Yeah, I got a little giddy with just like talking to folks right now is so fun. It's so fun to talk to people because they're just so excited. They're just like, I talked to this sweet woman that I worked with last year, trying to help find her and her husband homes, and they weren't able to find the kind of home they wanted at the price they wanted, all that kind of stuff. She called me and she says, I don't care what we do this year, but we're buying a dang home. And I said, yes, ma'am. What are we going to do? And so it's awesome. It's just,
she's ready to go.
They're excited. Last year had so much, I don't know if it's negativity, but last year had so much fear, so much anxiety. And it certainly feels like that's at least behind us a little bit. Obviously, there's still reasons to be, interest rates are still higher than they were for sure. I don't want to dismiss those things because those are important.
But the situation was newer last year of the change.
It was the shock.
The change. And so people really felt like the sky was falling and wasn't sure when it was going to fall. So I think this year we're more comfortable with how things went.
Yeah.
We like where we are now better than where we were at the end of last year.
Well, and 6 doesn't sound that crazy. 6 sounds crazy
Yeah.
compared to 3.
Yeah.
But 6 compared to 4 or 5 sounds
Yeah.
better. And 6 compared to 7.
Yeah.
And what was
Almost 8.
almost 8.
Yeah,
Like 6 sounds great.
Yeah. So people have confidence again, I think. And, the unemployment rate is still fairly low. So people are still working. And I guess also with this, people have probably adjusted their budgets, their personal budgets, to accommodate the inflation that we saw spike up last year. So I think people are starting to settle into more of a routine of handling the inflation in general. So that's all adding to confidence.
Yeah. So it's exciting.
Yeah. So
It's really exciting.
good job. Great numbers.
Oh, well, thanks.
Good info.
Thanks. So as we look ahead, so those are all kind of like what happened, right? Here's what happened in January. Here's what that might mean for us coming forward. Something that we track that actually does give us an indication as to what's going to happen in February is pending. Pending data lets us know how many closings we're probably going to have going into that. So when we tracked it in December last month, we had 998 pending home sales in the month of December when we did our podcast, right? Looking now, we have 1,175 more pendings, which indicates an increase, which indicates more activity, which indicates there's going to be more closings in February. And so that's exciting news.
Yeah, that's usually an indicator. Depending on how our December and January's kind of go, will let us know. Typically in most years, if we start ramping up in January, then get ready. It's going to be a pretty good ramped up first quarter.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's fine.
Yep. And as my favorite thing to end this podcast on, if it's okay, unless you have anything you want to share.
Yep, you go.
Okay, my favorite thing to end this podcast on, at this particular episode we do, is the fact, y'all, why we love real estate. If you are somebody who is shopping in real estate for a year or 2 years or 3 years, you're not really getting the beauty of real estate. Real estate, if you look at what the average close price was in Fort Worth for the average type home, what happened in Fort Worth, in Tarrant County and Johnson, it's the series, in 2014, 2014 was $212,512. Okay, so just $212,000, right? $212K. Y'all, today it's $432,874. So the average buyer in 2014 who bought that 212 home, guys, they've made $200,000 just in equity of appreciation. Not to mention the fact that they probably have paid off their loans. So they have more in their home besides that. I hope that they've improved their home maybe a little bit so they can get some value on top of that in the neighborhood. It's just that's the beauty of real estate's a long game, y'all. If you're playing it 2 to 3 years, you might get burned. There are dips that happen. Honestly, actually, not that we've seen the last 10 years.
Yeah, not recently.
No,
but in the past,
there have been dips for sure. If you look, I mean, literally, if you look at the chart, it's 2014 to 2024, and it's just trending upward, y'all. Now, I will say that obviously that we had, people know this, 2020, 2021, 2022, there was an increase. So you see like a dramatic bump, and then it's still increasing though. And so, I don't know, y'all just know that it's really exciting. Real estate is always a good decision if it makes sense for you now, and if you can sit with it. If you're the kind of person that can live in that home for, even somewhere around 5 years, I mean, you're probably going to be okay, at least enough to get just a little bump in something, appreciation wise. But you hold that for 10 years. I mean, come on.
Well, real estate's the only asset the only investment that you can live in.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
You're actually living in your investment. So it serves a dual purpose. You're you're raising your kids, you're, living your life, you're working your job out of the asset that you're living in.
And your kids go off and you're ready to downsize. Well, guess what? You've got a nice little bump in money for retirement or money for college or whatever's happening in your life at that point, just because you put money in real estate.
Yeah.
And so that's always the thing, like that it's just so exciting about this industry that we are in. And then this thing that we get to help folks buy and sell is like, it's a great investment. It's something that's really exciting. And it's something that really can change folks' lives in big ways. And so we're honored to be a part of that with folks who get to do that. If you have questions about any of the topics and the data we talked about today, let us know. We'd be glad to give you any information you would like. Again, if you would like specific details for your area, shoot us a DM on Facebook, Instagram. Those are our main two platforms. YouTube, you can comment on the video as well. We'll see that. Let us know. We're glad to do that. But yeah, y'all just be excited. there's a lot of things. You still need somebody like a real estate agent, like us, to be able to navigate some of these things,
Right.
and to give you your options.
Yeah.
And so, like if your goal is X, then you want to make sure that these are your 3 or 4 or 5 options. You have to reach X, figure out how you want to play it. You still need somebody making those plays for you and kind of showing you that.
And we love that. We love to meet with people, even if you don't move or you're going to move in 10 years.
Yep.
We love to talk with people and determine what your options might be. That's really fun for us.
Yeah. And we've been doing all these vendor interviews too, where we're talking to folks, and it's just so fun to hear them talk about their trades, because we get to learn about it. And you just realize how nice it is to have advisors near you who you can trust and who are just there to say, here's some ways you can play it, So we'd love to be that for you. If we're not that for you, that's okay. Let it be somebody else who you do trust, because you need somebody you trust to be your trusted advisor, especially with real estate. It's a big deal, and it can really change your life. So we believe in it. Let us know if you have questions.
Let us help you change your life.
There you go. Oh, it's good. I love it. Anything else before we go?
I think that's just, good news is coming. So it's going to be a good year in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, folks, we appreciate you joining us for Welcome Home Fort Worth for our January market update podcast. One of my favorites that we do. So thank y'all. We'll see you back next week.
See you then.
Hey, thank you so much for watching the podcast today. If this has been valuable for you at all, we sure could use your help getting the word out to more people. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and give us a follow and consider taking just maybe 2 minutes to leave us a review. Both do wonders for our show with the algorithm, and on both platforms, all you gotta do, head over to our show page. On Spotify, hit 3 dots and select rate. And on Apple, all you gotta do is just scroll down to the show and say leave a review. So just click that. If you're seeing this on Facebook or Instagram, a like or comment puts all the good vibes out in the algorithm for us. And on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever we post a new episode. Join us again next week for more Fort Worth housing news and updates. Until then, y'all have a great week.